Good morning, everyone, and welcome to International Trade Live. I'm Joseph Clark, the editor of International Trade magazine, and I'm joined now by Samantha Brocklehurst, who is the Customer Experience Director for Maersk UK and Ireland. In this exclusive interview, we'll be discussing progressions in the shipping industry, with particular focus on green shipping vessels and other carbon-friendly or carbon-neutral solutions. Samantha, could we begin by you giving us a brief run through of your career so far in the shipping industry?
Sure. Hello, everybody. So I have been very fortunate to work in the shipping and logistics industry for the past 15 years now, which makes me feel incredibly old. I started very traditionally, actually, and very by accident, like a lot of people I know. I came home from university, back to where I'm from, and needed a job. So I started temping. And I ended up with a container shipping line for 2 weeks. And my job was supposed to be opening the post, logging bills of lading to say they've been received. But unfortunately, I don't know. I started asking questions. And I was very, very quickly moved into a permanent role there within customer service. I did a number of customer service, key account management roles there before I moved into sales. And my background is actually predominantly sales. So inside sales, account management, key account management. I joined Maersk, the Maersk Group, in 2014. Again, actually in a sales role before moving across to head up customer experience for one of the now defunct brands. So I headed up customer experience for SAF Marine. I then moved into a head office role. So I've worked in the UK and Ireland. I've worked in Copenhagen. And I was responsible for learning and development needs globally as part of our commercial academy. I went to work for another shipping line for 18 months in a very similar role. And I've been back in this particular one within Maersk for coming up to about 2 years now. So quite a varied shipping and logistics background.
And what would you say have been the standout moments for the shipping industry since you began 15 years ago?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I think actually and I know we'll come on to talk about it, but how quickly we've managed to accelerate actually progress within the sustainability field, that is a real standout moment for me. I think we've been a bit slow as an industry to adopt digitalisation, to adopt the power of things like AI. But I'd like to say in the last couple of years, we're getting there. And I'm now starting to see some really good things come out, which I think will really have a massive impact for customers, for people within the supply chain. So very excited to see what that brings.
You've mentioned there 3 key ideas that I would actually like to cover in this interview. If we begin with digitalisation, how important do you think that has become over more recent years? And also, how do you foresee that this will continue to progress and facilitate shipping operations?
Yeah, so I think if we're really, really humble as an industry, we haven't embraced digitalisation in the same way that others have. So if you look at the banking industry, for example, and you look at the acceptance of digital standards, those have been in place within that industry for 10, 15, 20, maybe even longer. Shipping, logistics were not there. And that's not to say there haven't been attempts to get there, but I think now more so than ever, and definitely post-pandemic and post-supply chains and logistics becoming more and more part of the wider vocabulary. I think we really are seeing demand from customers intensifying. So what are you doing as one of my logistics providers? What are you doing in the realm of digitalisation? But also from a practical point of view, from a how we run assets and how we run supply chains point of view, we're at that crunch point where we as an industry really need to take advantage actually of what digitalisation can bring. And that's definitely starting to come faster and faster over the past couple of years.
And why do you think that hasn't happened before as it has happened in other countries?
I think one of the challenges is if I can say, the trust in the network. I think a lot of what we do is considered protected, it's considered, well, it is very commercially sensitive. And I think one of the big challenges we've still yet to overcome actually as an industry is almost that trust element where we all need to share data, we all need to agree on standards, we all need to agree on what it looks like to make a booking, what it looks like to have an electronic bill of lading. But there's been, some historical challenges there with getting everybody around the table. But I think, again, we're starting to come to the other side of that. So if you look at the Digital Container Shipping Association, so there are 9 ocean carrier members, of which Maersk is one, and they have a number of ambitions, but one of which is 100% electronic bills of lading by 2030. And another is actually to set those standards, to put aside commercial sensitivity or commercial concerns and actually sit down and agree those standards, which will accelerate the digitalisation of shipping and logistics.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk about e-bills of lading as well. But before we get to that point, in terms of digitalisation, then, what about when it comes to our ports? Would you say that we're prepared in this sense?
I would say so, yes. I think obviously there are, if I just look at the UK in particular, so we work with the 2 big port operators that you would expect, Hutchinson and DPW. We have seen we've definitely seen some progression over the past sort of couple of years. If I take Hutchinson, for example, just this year, they are the first, certainly the largest UK port to really lean on 5G and Internet of Things technology. And that's to power sort of shipside and landside operations. Obviously not directly impacting what we're doing, but definitely has an impact on the wider supply chain. I think in the time I've been doing this, and I think about how we as vessel operators and we as customers interact with the ports through their community port systems, there have definitely been a lot of investment there, and a lot of enhancement of the digital capabilities in terms of track and trace, in terms of visibility of movements, both shipside and landside, and certainly on the customs side as well. So it's coming, and it has to.
And to touch a little bit upon artificial intelligence, what do you think have been the main developments that you have witnessed?
That's a great question. So it's an area that I am personally very, very interested in. I can talk about it from a Maersk point of view, so and what we're doing in terms of artificial intelligence. It's not enough to just be able to give visibility, to be able to just give data, to be able to say your piece of cargo, be it on air, plane, train, sea, whatever. It's not enough to say that's where it is. Where we need to be is, what does that mean? What's the insight? What's the action that needs to be taken or can be taken to enhance the supply chain, enhance the experience? And that is definitely where AI comes in. So from a Maersk point of view, that's the realm we are looking at it from. So how do we use it to support those customer insights, to support our colleagues actually in different parts of the business do what they need to do? And again, certainly over the past sort of year or so, it's a topic that customers ask me about, and it's a topic that suppliers ask me about, and it's a topic that we spent a lot of time talking about internally. So I think there is definitely more to come in this realm.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. So then moving on to the e-bills of lading Act that was recently introduced, obviously a huge milestone. How do you think businesses who import or export are adapting to this change?
I think slowly, I think would be a first statement to say. I think the Act is a really, really significant one. So the fact that the UK law now recognises an e-bill of lading, it has the same status as a paper bill of lading. That on paper, that is a game changer. However, since that was passed, I think in August, a couple of months ago, I've not seen any significant change from our customers or any significant change in the conversation. I think there's a lot that needs to be done to be able to actually power that trade. So what's the technology, be it blockchain or other, which will enable that digital supply chain, which will enable that transfer of electronic bills of lading? I mentioned the DCSA before, and the ambition from those 9 big ocean carriers to have a fully digital bill of lading by 2030. We're still 7 years off. It's still very, very achievable. But I think there's a lot of work to do to get regulators, to get customers, to get key players within the supply chains, to get banks all around the table to really accelerate that conversation around what do those standards look like? What does the security around those standards look like? And what do we need to do to be able to really, really buy into this concept of getting rid of bits of paper, because it is still an incredibly antiquated industry from that point of view.
And yeah, I was just thinking probably part of the challenge is the fact that such a high percentage of businesses were still relying on paper. So it's basically something new for nearly everyone.
Absolutely. And we are an industry that I think is quite innovative, actually, because we have to be. We've shown over the past couple of years how we have adapted and adjusted to the changing needs of customers, changing needs of supply chains because of big, geopolitical events or whatever. So I think we've got it in us to do it. I think it's just we collectively need to get around that table and really understand how do we make this happen. The regulation's there now, and actually it changing in UK law is a bigger game changer for companies and trade even outside of the UK, just because a lot of maritime law is informed by UK law. So this is not just a UK and Ireland opportunity, it's a global opportunity for e-bills. It's just getting people to the table to get rid of those pieces of paper. It blows my mind if you think that's where I started my job 15 years ago, literally taking bills of lading out of envelopes and saying, we've got them, we can do the next thing. It's not really moved on since then in the past 15 years, but now's the crunch points, now's the time.
Yeah, I think it would be exciting to see how we do progress in that sense over the next year.
Absolutely.
Moving on then, it would be unforgivable, obviously, to have an interview with you today without touching upon sustainability.
Hi.
So we can't ignore the increasing demand for both sustainability and energy efficiency, carbon neutral solutions, for example. So what could you tell us about how shipping has progressed in these areas?
I think I'll give you a number. So 3 years ago, there were 5 vessels globally capable of dual fuel, so capable of running on both a traditional fossil fuel and something greener. Now, as we look at the order books across the industry, there are 200, at least on the order books, and 139 of those are container vessels, and that's in the last 3 years. So I think this is something which has been on the agenda with customers, certainly for a number of years, but very anecdotally, I can tell you that a lot of the customer engagement I do with CEOs, with board level, this is now very firmly on the agenda. Customers have got a sustainability promise to their end customers, be it we're working with retailers, with automotive companies, with FMCG companies, Cantech, whatever. They're all now moving into the position where they have to make a commitment on their sustainability pledges, and as shipping and logistics as part of those supply chains, we also have to come to the table. So it's really, really gathering momentum. We as Maersk, within the last month, have had the delivery of the first green methanol vessel, the Moller Maersk. Very, very excited. She's the first of 25. She is tiny in comparison to others, so she's only 2,100 TEU. But we, as Maersk, have a number on the order books between now and 2027, which will really help us accelerate those sustainability gains and promises for our customers.
And could you share with us some of the main challenges that you experienced, and therefore what other providers of green methanol powered shipping vessels will also experience?
Absolutely. So the initial challenge was both the availability of the ships and the technology, but also the fuel. But I've just spoken about how we've managed to overcome that. So through collaboration with ship brokers, with engine makers, with all the parts of the supply chain that go into developing and delivering vessels which are capable of running on more than just fossil fuels, we've managed to break that cycle. And I think it's fair to say, as an industry, we see other competitors on paper are also leaning in and doing the same. So actually, this is one area where we are now seeing really good collaboration, which is excellent, because this is not a problem that can be solved by one party in one part of the world in isolation. I think one of the challenges is around now. So the vessels are coming. It's probably around the availability of the fuel. So to give you an example, right now in terms of green methanol, and that is just one of the green fuels available, there are around 100,000 tonnes available globally in production. The Moller Maersk by herself will take about a third of that. So if you think I spoke about 200 vessels, 139 coming online over the next couple of years, that is now the crunch point. So how do we make sure that fuel is available in the right places to be able to power that? But that's also coming. So we, as one of the parties of, one of the interested parties, along with the rest of the industry, we are investing in research and development, investing in production, investing in partnerships, which will really, really help drive and overcome that potential problem. I think the other challenges around the not just the availability, but we need to ensure there is cost parity at some point. So we will need to lean on regulators, on governments, to actually make sure that it doesn't just make sense to have green fuel for the right reasons, for the right philosophical, ethical, whatever reasons, but also commercially, operationally, it's viable. So to give an example, the European Union, the ETS, the ETS regulations coming in or being expanded to cover marine operations next year. That's the type of thing that will help reset the balance and make sure that we've got the ships, we've got the fuel. We just also need to make sure it is also commercially viable.
And do you think that green methanol is the main way forward, or are there other carbon neutral alternatives that are also being explored or invested in already?
It's absolutely, green methanol is just one of a number, and it's just one area. So as Maersk, we have really focused on green methanol, but there are others available in the market. In fact, the Global Maritime Foundation and the Maersk McKinney Moller Centre for Decarbonisation, which is our research and development arm, they recently shared some research which suggests that by 2050 there could actually be as many as 12 different sources, power sources, fuel sources for vessels, and they can range from what we're seeing now, from green methanol up to nuclear, and whatever it's an evolving industry. It's actually a really exciting part of the industry. So what we think we have today is not necessarily what will bring us through to 2050 and beyond. I think the key point here was nobody could wait for a perfect solution. Nobody as an industry could wait for a ready-made, this is absolutely perfect, let's go with this. So what we've seen is other providers, competitors, people within the supply chain and the enterprise, they've invested in one or another. And I think the idea is, very logically, we'll all see what works, we'll all figure it out, and then we'll settle on what makes the most sense. The Moller Maersk, for example, so she's the first green methanol. She's almost a pilot for us. So what does that look like? What can we learn? What do we need to do differently? Is it viable? Is this the long-term solution, or do we need to look somewhere else? So it's all still very much an evolving platform, I think.
Yeah. just to finish off, what are your other, obviously we've covered quite a few areas, digitalisation, sustainability. What are your other predictions or observations for the future of the shipping industry?
Oh, I'll get my Mystic Meg crystal ball out. I think sustainability, digitalisation are definitely the name of the game at the moment. I think what we will continue to see, and actually what I hope we do continue to see, is the shipping and logistics being part of the vocabulary. I think previously we've been quite a hidden part of the world, and we've been like the wizard behind the curtain. If anyone watches The Wizard of Oz, that's been us. And I think over the past couple of years, as the networks have tightened, as we faced challenges as an industry, be it with availability of labour, be it with congestion in ports, be it with availability of trucking, be it with availability of planes, whatever, and that has had a felt impact on the end consumer. People have started being curious about what we do and asking questions. And I think we shouldn't shy away from that. Yes, they can be challenging conversations when, people are looking in at us, but actually I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to challenge ourselves, to challenge our way of thinking, to challenge the ways that we do things. And quite frankly, I'm not precious. So I think the more good brains and the more good eyes and the more good questions we can get into what we do, that will only help shape the future of this industry over the next 10, 20, 30, whatever years. So I hope that is what we continue to see evolve. And I hope that is what we can continue to leverage for the good of the industry, for the good of customers.
Well, as you said, it all sounds incredibly exciting. I think you sound very positive and optimistic about what the future holds. So thank you very much for joining us today, and for sharing with us what you've seen in your crystal ball. Thank you so much. And if you could stick around to answer any questions, then that would also be fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.